I was wrong in doing what I did. No, no, no! Are you listening?
Sean here, and today we continue the series of why you should not befriend unrepentant drunken pedophile Lorne Armstrong. They got me on high doses of steroids, which make my blood pressure go up. They got me on blood pressure medicine, which makes it go down. And they've got me on a muscle relaxer to stop me from shaking like a freaking earthquake. It's been a rough week. One of the main reasons no one, and I'm not talking about catfish, I'm not. They tried to teach him a lesson. They weren't there in person. They weren't asking for money. They weren't involved in his life. They were only there when it was convenient to talk on the phone. But we know for Lorne, talking on the phone would be his entire day if it was possible. A guy who drives a truck and thinks quality time is calling and just leaving messages of a song playing through static in the background to a catfish woman who's been ignoring him. I say the word peripheral with Lorne a lot, and there's a reason. Lorne Armstrong is the guy, he doesn't work in the center where the work needs to be done. He works on the outside, right on the edges. Just enough to where he can feel like his life is moving forward, but not enough for it actually to do so. Lorne is a self-made volunteer fireman. I don't know if that's how you should describe it. Think of it this way. There are giant fires raging in his life. Things that he should be rushing towards, trying to put out, get other people to help put out. But instead, he'll set fires on the peripheral, because we were talking about that. He'll set them on the perimeter, on the outside, so he can go put those out, the ones that he started. All of the drama with the catfish women, all of the delusions in his head about how things really are with Paula, rather than face the fact of what he really did and what really happened and how she really felt about him. He decided to pick and choose whatever he wanted to out of that whole situation, make it a big deal, turn it into an inferno, so that he feels in control, that he can put out those fires because he set them himself. Here's a great example. When I was in the Marine Corps, if you wanted to communicate, you had to physically run 2 huge spools of cable. They were really heavy, and you were leaning forward while you were pulling these. And on the end, they had a connector. You had to meet in the middle, which was hard enough, and it was usually in the middle of the night through cactuses, desert, whatever. Wire them together, close them up. Then, this individual would go out, disconnect a wire. Communications would go down. They would need him, so he would go out and just undo what he did. He was setting his own fires because he needed to feel like he was valuable. He needed to feel like they needed him. And this is what Lorne does. Whenever he has to look at himself, he lumps everybody else in with him, so that the fires he created are now their fires. And we talked about this. You're going to have to deal with all these people on the internet who are coming after me. Now that your name is associated with me, we have to stick together. The kicker is that you're going to be the one that's putting out the fires. You're going to be the one that's holding his hand and guiding him. He needs a surrogate mom. God forbid any woman ever step into that role. As long as he has people in his life who act like they care about him, he's going to be able to go on the perimeter and set those fires, include them in that, and then he can go put them out. Because when he's talking to another person or they have issues, he can work on those issues, the issues between them. It's not just him. It takes 2 to tango, as we've heard him say before. But if it's just him, everything he's done in his life, all of those raging fires that he set himself, he would have to deal with them, and he won't, because number 1, he's too lazy. And number 2, he just doesn't have the willpower or the knowledge to figure out how to get himself out. He's dug himself so deep that the only relief for him is finding other things that he can quickly put out and work on. And if there are none, he will find a way to create drama. We know he doesn't have anything to talk about these catfish women. I mean, Debbie was a saint. She tried to help him. So she was able to take all of those fires, try to help him put them out. But of course, Lorne wasn't really doing anything. He just wanted to try to get into her pants. It was one of the only times that this guy wasn't in control of the amount of drama he created. Because, he creates drama so that they have something to talk about. So he has a reason to call back. So he expects them to call back. We really need to talk. And I think we need to talk. It's not appropriate. I do not appreciate it at all. And so on and so forth. So Debbie was able to make him talk about things that really existed, things that mattered. She tried not to let him get distracted. But of course, he would go on the outside, constantly try to compare himself to other people. Well, others, so-and-so did this. Well, so-and-so did that. Well, I'm not as bad as these other guys. And she just wasn't having any of it. And to be perfectly honest with you, neither is Casey. Lorne Armstrong would rather be miserable than to have to deal with the things that are making him miserable. The beauty of these catfish women are that they make him miserable. But because he needs them to blame his misery on. That's why he keeps them around. That, and he's desperate, and he's a virgin. However, because he's keeping them around, because his life is making him miserable, he can now blame everything, and he still does, on the fact that he answers the phone when these catfish women call. Again, he leaves his window open, robbers get in, they steal his stuff. He leaves it open again, robbers get in, they steal him stuff. And this could repeat 100 times, and he would always blame the thieves. One thing Lorne will never understand is that people who make content about him are not making it about him because he's special, because he's unique. We make this content because we can't believe a human being like this exists. We don't interfere directly in his life, and even if the catfishes call, Lorne doesn't have to talk. He doesn't need to talk. He sits down for hours and talks to random strangers that show up at his house and say, "Hey, I'm with the Church of God." He will laugh and start asking what's going on with them, and in his head he probably thinks, "Oh yeah, I got him now," then starts revealing intimate details about his life, then complains later when those details are revealed to the world. As long as anyone criticizes him in any way, he's good. He can just use them to blame all of his troubles on. His life is like a Petri dish in a dirty lab. You have the original sample, which is Lorne, and then you have a bunch of other outside variables that have come in, different other kinds of bacteria that are affecting his life in a negative way. They're eating at his life. But as long as that original sample still has some kind of identity, and you can still look at it and say, okay, that's the original sample. As long as Lorne Armstrong can still see himself as the original sample, the guy before the sting, well, the one who was grooming before the sting, but the guy who was completely innocent, successful businessman, used by other people, he's fine with it. He's let that little Petri dish get infested with so much stuff that shouldn't be there, that eventually it just overtook him. He's almost completely gone as a human being. There is nothing left of that possibly good, naive young man. We now have this monster. So if you look at Lorne as a test subject, which is why I find him so fascinating, because the word subject could be used on him in any kind of psych course. You could do 4 years on him alone. They could do an entire bachelor's degree in Lorneography because of just how messed up and confusing it is when you're trying to figure out what exactly is his major malfunction. I would like to think that if Lorne was alone and he didn't have these outside influences, that he might focus on himself. But as long as his family is alive, anyone that doesn't have to talk to him but feels obligated, he's okay. So if you're somebody that's in the Lorneography community, you know a lot about him. You know a lot about him because of all of the content that is out there. You know a whole lot about him, and you have a preconceived notion of who this guy is. And chances are, if you're the person who wants to make friends with this unrepentant drunken pedophile, you got screws loose yourself. But if you go and you make friends with him, You are now another name that he can use, more situations that he can use to distract himself. Because eventually, he's going to find out you're in the community. And he's going to convince himself that, see, not everybody thinks I'm bad. I'm a good guy. People really know it. Look at this guy. He came into my life. You basically gate crashed. You became bacteria in the little Petri dish that is Lorne. It's the Truman Show. As we've said, Lorne is the Truman Show. But he knows it's fake. And as we've talked about before, he enjoys being the star. He thinks he is a star. The day people stop driving down his road and stop calling him and sending him letters or emailing him, however they're getting in contact with him, that's going to be a dark day. That's going to be the day where reality sets in and he can no longer blame all of his problems, because Lorne needs somebody to talk to be able to blame things for other things. He needs somebody to hear. It's like if a tree falls in the wood, no one's around to hear it, doesn't make a sound. If Lorne complains to him, nobody's listening. He needs an audience. Because if he tries to blame something on something else, and he doesn't have anybody else to tell it to, I honestly believe that's a problem for him. Without somebody to complain to, without somebody to blame all of the things that we discussed on, I think he starts to realize nobody's listening anymore. I need somebody to listen to me. Why won't anybody listen to me? Because I don't want to listen to myself. I don't want to have to give the input to myself. I don't want to have to answer those questions. I want somebody else on the outside to tell me things so I can just push them back. No, that's not it. That's not it. It's this weird therapy that he has figured out. If I can just talk to total strangers, people who don't know the real me, I can tell them whatever I want. They can give me the real reasons. So Lorne would be getting real feedback with truth. And he could say, well, no, you don't know what I've been through. You don't know what's happened to me. You're right. We really don't. We have no idea all of those fires that you've set, that you've distracted yourself from the raging inferno. We don't know everything that's going on in your life. And these people that are trying to come in, they're going to be prying that stuff out of you. They're going to be pulling all the mistakes that you've made. Eventually, they're going to come up. And if this person tries to truly be a friend to you, a real friend, they're going to tell you that all of that crap that you're spouting is not true. And they're going to end up just like everybody else. They're going to be a whirlwind in your life. You're going to be fighting off the truth from them at all times. I mean, chances are this friend may just want to distract you. They may not even want to talk about what's going on in your life situations. You're going to be talking about moving dirt from here to there to them. I doubt you're going to be talking about the real problems you're facing. You're going to play the victim. You're going to play the hero. And if this person who, if they flew all the way overseas to make friends with you, if they're desperate enough to stay in your life, they're going to do that. Yeah, that's crazy. Which is the generic answer you give when somebody's been telling you a story for a long time, when you're sitting at the bar, or you don't really care about it, you find you're indifferent, or it really is boring. You just go, yeah, that's crazy, man. I can't believe that happened. It's going to be a problem sooner than later. Lorne is boring. You are going to get bored. And he's going to start to go into the same old routine of Xavier, and you're going to find out all about it. He's going to bring it up all the time, and he's going to go, oh yeah, I forgot to tell you. And he's going to go into more of it. You're going to hear all about the catfish women that you've already dealt with, because you already know all of the content that's out there. So what are you really doing? Why would you want to be friends with a guy who's just going to speak to you like he does all these other catfishes that call him? What do you think he's going to tell you? What do you think you're going to accomplish? The answer is nothing. Nothing. Maybe you think you're going to be the friend. Look at what Debbie did. Lorne values vagina over penises all day, every day. And he's probably just going to talk about vagina to you. And that's going to be your life. Listening to Lorne Armstrong ramble and stumble over what a vagina is and how much he's ever had. And if you think that is being a friend, Oh boy, you cannot be my friend. God forbid you give this guy money. Because if you give him money, it's not going to go to things it needs to go to. It's going to go to frivolous things. Because people who are broke, they feel better when they spend money. They feel like they have money, even though they've just gotten rid of it. It's a weird cycle. What could you possibly offer this guy? Not just an ear for him to talk to, a shoulder to cry on, or to give him money. He doesn't need you. All of those fires he keeps setting to put out so he doesn't have to deal with the main one in the center. All of that excess bacteria that's in there while his sample just degrades, while he just degrades even further as a human being. How are you going to fix that? Do you actually think being there for this guy is enough? Because if you do, you've got mental issues and you have no business stepping into this environment. Picture it as a test environment. You're looking in from the outside. And again, you look in and you see the monkey swinging. They're having a blast. And you think, well, if I go in there, it's going to be fun. We're all going to be swinging like the monkeys and they're just going to be continuing to have a good time. No, you're going to disrupt everything. Any progress that they've made, any of those fires that have started to go down a little bit that he set himself, not the ones that he set to put out, but the ones he actually set himself ablaze with. You're going to ruin that. You're going to be a distraction. And sooner or later, whether you like it or not, you are going to be a source of drama. You are now going to be the new scapegoat. He's going to find something out about you. He's going to think about it all day. When you finally talk to him, he's going to go, so, I have a question for you. When I asked you the question about that other question, you took a little bit longer than usual to answer. Are you catfishing me? And that's what you're going to deal with because he doesn't have anything else to talk about. So you came in thinking you were going to be a force for change, a force for good, and you're going to end up, and you can quote me on this, you are going to end up contributing to that raging fire of denial, of failure. You're going to be a part of it. And it's going to be even bigger when you leave. Lorne already trusts nobody, but he talks to everybody. And here you come, even if you were in person playing the friend, and it's going to fall apart. His family's not going to like you unless you give them money. They may like you in the beginning, but they're going to see you, especially because Lorne can't keep his mouth shut. Yeah, he's with the Church of God, but I'm telling you, they're turning it around. The point I'm making is, you will do no good. You haven't helped him go out and try to integrate into society. You haven't helped him learn what real friendships are, what real relationships are, and how they're formed. You've just come in like a fanboy or fangirl, and you've decided that you want to come in and be a part of his life. You want to make yourself famous. Oh, there goes John Bob. Yeah, he's friends with Lorne. Sooner or later, you're going to want to share that relationship with YouTube, and you're going to come out with My Life with Lorne or something like that. You will have done more damage than you could possibly know. You would have betrayed him. If you played yourself off as a real friend, you would have betrayed him. And even if you're just doing it for the content, everything I just said is still true. You need to let this guy live in Lorne world. And if you want to observe, that's fine. You want to make breakdown videos, that's fine. If you want to be a part of the catfish chain where they're desperately trying to help this guy understand that none of this is healthy for him, then do that. But to selfishly jump in there and pretend or actually be a friend for reasons that should not be used to become a friend, you're doing a lot of damage. That's part 2. I love you guys. I will see you in the next one.